Hey everybody, John Grauman from the agency here with another market update, and I don't know how you can talk about what's happening in the market without addressing the NAR settlement. So obviously big news in our industry, and whenever there's big news like this, there's always going to be a lot of sensationalism, a lot of clickbait. So I'm going to try to address this as concisely and objectively as I can. I'm going to honor what I believe to be true and try to dispel what I believe not to be true. So strap in, buckle up, and here we go. NAR reached a settlement in their case to the tune of $418 million will be paid out over the course of the next 4 years. This is a far cry from the initial verdict, which was $1.8 billion. At the core of this case was an issue of transparency, because there were allegations that real estate agents were conspiring and steering their clients towards listings that were paying higher commissions. So to address that, one of the big changes is that starting as of July, real estate agents are no longer going to be able to advertise the commission that is paid to the buyer's agent. That doesn't mean they still can't pay a commission to the buyer's agent. They just can't advertise it on the MLS. So what does that mean? Well, who's going to pay it? It becomes negotiable. This is more of a free market that they were hoping for. Frankly, I think that's going to likely create a lot of confusion in the months ahead, but once we sort of adjust to the new norm, I think that it's going to require agents to really level up their game and demonstrate what their value add is in order to earn and justify their commissions, which again, I think is what they really wanted here. The second part of this is that buyers are now going to have to sign an exclusive agency agreement with their agent in order to show a property. So before I, as a real estate agent, could take you as a buyer to go see 123 Main Street, you're going to have to sign an agency agreement with me that states that I am your representative. This is interesting because this is a section of the business that frankly has always been inherently disloyal. A lot of buyers want to shop around, work with different agents, and this is going to force buyers to commit to an agent, which again, agents, get ready. You're going to have to level up and really demonstrate what your worth is to be able to earn that buyer's business. Now let's talk about who the big winners and losers are coming out of this. Now, this of course is inherently subjective depending on your perspective, but I'll try to break it down as best I can. The biggest winner of all, without question, is the attorneys. Right? The attorneys are probably going to take 30 to 40% of that $418 million. So that's going to be roughly what, $160 million. And what's left that's going to go to the plaintiffs spread out over an antitrust class action lawsuit, probably around $12 to $15 per household is my guess. So not a big win there. For sellers, yeah, I would say there's some win there because who pays half of the commission now becomes a negotiable deal point. For buyers, maybe not so much. That's, I think, yet to be seen in terms of how that all plays out. Who's going to cover the buyer's commission? What's that commission going to be? For a lot of buyers, they only have enough money set aside for the down payment and certain closing costs. So if you're not able to finance that commission, that could present a real challenge. So I think you're going to see some restructuring in the lending industry as well, which, hey, within every chaotic situation is always opportunity, and perhaps that presents an opportunity for new lending guidelines that maybe make it easier for buyers to enter into the marketplace. We'll see. Now, a settlement like this with such broad sweeping ramifications frankly presents more questions than it does answers right now. So I'm not going to get into every different hypothetical situation and how it might be affected because in all honesty, I don't know yet. We're waiting to see how this all plays out in real time. That said, there are a couple of really egregious misnomers in the media that I do want to address because I think it's incredibly misleading to consumers. Perhaps the most glaring one that I saw is that this settlement is going to bring home prices down. And that is just categorically incorrect. And let me explain why. So as a real estate agent, when I'm brought in to value someone's home, it's not like we say, Mr. Seller, I think your home is worth $1 million. Now let's tack on 5 or 6% for commissions and we'll list it at $1,050,000 or $1,060,000. That's not how it works. Historically, the sellers pay both sides of the commission, and that's just a cost of doing business that's factored in. It's just not, it doesn't affect the value, it's just factored in as a cost. Now, to think that a seller now doesn't have to pay half of that, let's call it 2.5%, which in this example is $25,000. Do you think a seller is going to say, well, let's reduce the price of my house now to $975,000? That's not going to happen either. Every seller is going to want to squeeze out every penny that they can. But for buyers, as I mentioned before, it's going to be tough for them to come up with that 2.5% commission in certain instances. So what's going to happen? In that $1 million example, they're probably going to go to the seller and say, I'll give you $1,025,000, bake it into the cost, and then give me a credit back of $25,000, which actually drives the price up. So do I think this is a benefit to consumers? In my humble opinion, no, I do not. And the reason being, commissions don't dictate value. Supply and demand dictates value. So where does this all go from here? Well, the reality is in the coming months, there's probably going to be a lot of confusion. Say what you will about the real estate industry. It certainly wasn't perfect. We had our issues and challenges, but people knew what to expect. This is a whole new frontier. And with that, there's going to be a lot of changes coming, and I think a lot of confusion for buyers and for sellers about who's paying the commission, whose responsibility is it, what amount is that going to be? And that'll all unfold in the months to come. But keep in mind, this settlement still needs to be approved by the court, and it still needs to be approved by the DOJ. So this is not set in stone just yet. As this continues to unfold, I'll obviously keep you apprised of any new developments. Once again, I think now more so than ever, who you listen to matters, who you work with matters. So please stay in tune for more information in the coming weeks ahead.